everyone, it's Holly and welcome to my series review of the Addicted series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. And I just want to be clear right now up front, I did do a review of Addicted to You, the first book in the series, and this is going to be more for the series as a whole, and I am going to talk openly about what happened in that book, mainly like the ending, because I feel like to talk about the rest of the series in an honest way, I have to talk about how that book ended. So if you don't want to know that, you can check out my review of the first book. But yeah, so let's get started. Can I just say, first of all, I love the series. I think it's amazing. And I love Krista and Becca Ritchie, and I just want them to write like faster and faster, and they already write very fast. So I love them. I will probably read everything they ever write. So the books, and I'm going to tell you what all the books are, and I'll give you my rating when I say that. So the first one is Addicted to You, which I gave 4 stars. The second is more of like a 1.5, but it's a full-length story, is Ricochet, which I gave 5 stars, and then the third, which is the second real book, is Addicted for Now, which I also gave 5 stars. Then there's like a 2.5, which is Thrive, and that one exists kind of for people who didn't want to read the Calloway sisters books to like fill them in, but there is some extra content in there. Reading their books, it's challenging to say out loud the order of their books, but honestly it's not that complicated once you get into it. But yeah, so then that one got 4.5 stars from me, and then Addicted After All is the last one, and I gave that one 5 stars. So the synopsis, like the basic synopsis of the story, is that it follows Lily and Lo, and they've been friends, like best friends forever. And she is a sex addict and he is an alcoholic, and they have spent a huge part of their lives enabling each other. They pretended to be dating for years to hide their addictions from their family, and they take care of each other, and then in Addicted to You they decide to start having a romantic relationship. Everything changes. New people come into their lives. Bo especially ends up being forced to change, and he ends up going to rehab, and then Lily starts having to analyze her situation because she doesn't want to cheat on him, so she has to start looking at her own addiction and her own problems. And I would say the series as a whole does deal with the idea of addiction, and it deals with it very openly and honestly and respectfully. It is not a perfect recovery by any stretch of the imagination. I think Ricochet is amazing for that. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. But the characters are amazing, and this series is, and connected with the Calloway sisters series too, is so much about friends and family and growing and finding yourself. In the end, the books are kind of about 3 couples, and even though the 3 sisters, like the 3 girls are sisters, and that's kind of what unites them, it's still kind of like a found family story. Like this group of 6 people create this supportive, amazing family that they all didn't necessarily have growing up, and it's so beautiful to see that. And the series takes place over 4 years, which is just amazing. I think it's so nice to see authors be willing to spend time with characters and like allow them actual time to grow. So let's talk about the romance. I love Lily and Lo so much. I love them both individually, especially Lily. Her thought process on things connects with mine so much. Like the trains of thought she'll go down, like when it comes to being anxious and nervous, are the same things I think. And I love how like nerdy she is, and it's so great. Like they're both into like superheroes and comics and stuff and Harry Potter, and she'll talk about like OTPs, and then people will be like, oh, Lily and Lo are my OTP, and she's like, oh my god, that's like the coolest thing ever. And I feel like she's just so endearing to me, and she's so sweet, and I kind of feel like her sisters were like, what she does is so inspiring, that she comes from like such a low and like raises herself up. And then honestly, like, I'm like a freak. Like, I have like a super perverted mind. I just like whispered that. Like, I take almost anything and make it dirty, and it's like a problem. I've been like this since like middle school or high school. It can be really embarrassing at times because people will say things and then like I'll respond thinking that they're thinking the same thing I am, but they're not. And Lily has moments like that constantly where she'd be like, oh, everyone else wasn't thinking that? And it's like, oh my gosh, I get you, girl, I get you. Oh, and all of the gang has Twitter handles. I know Krista and Becca Ritchie monitor, they own the Lily Calloway one, and all the other ones are fan run, but seriously, they're amazing, and if you read the series, you should follow them. But so back to the romance. I am so invested in them. Like, seriously. I love them. I want these books to be made into a TV show just so I can, like, spend more time with these characters. They go through so much. They are truly, honestly, the best of friends, and I think it's so beautiful to see them when they're just having those moments, like when like Lo will protect her and they just like, they're also very physical. If she feels like cornered or something, she like latches onto him, and sometimes I can find that annoying, especially in real life, but it totally makes sense with their relationship and I love it. They're definitely codependent, and it's something that's like a running thing throughout the series, and that's what I like about it, is that they learn what's healthy in their relationship and what's unhealthy, and how to support each other without enabling each other. So the other relationships, because like I said, this story is about friends and family, and so there's tons of relationships, and having read everything Krista and Becca Ritchie have published at this point, I feel like that's what their thing is. Like, the thing that will be running through everything they ever write will be family, and will be that, and we need more of that. One of my favorite things in this series is how Lily and Lily's relationship with her sisters evolves, it changes and grows, and how she goes from being like super withdrawn and not involved with them becoming like the two most important people in her life, and how they all interact with each other. And there's like a pretty big age gap between some of them, and they're still able to create this beautiful relationship in this family that's incredibly supportive and loving. And I love like the way they interact and the way they talk. And then I love Lo with the sisters too. Like, I can't even, like, him and Rose are like my favorite thing ever. It kind of reminds me of the show According to Jim, with Jim and Dana. Like, they're just constantly like at each other, but I feel like it comes from a place of love, and I like seeing it. And then the Connor-Lo relationship that has just evolved immensely. Connor is one of the people that comes into their lives in the first book and ends up sticking around, obviously. And I mean, I like Connor. Freaking love Connor. But him and Lo, like, their friendship and the way they interact with each other is exactly what I like to see. I love good male friendships. I think you just do not see it enough. I think you see a lot of like bro friendships, and I just feel like that's not fair to guys. I feel like guys can have emotional connections with other guys and have healthy, normal relationships, and we just avoid talking or writing about those things. So it's nice to see, and oh my god, I love them. I've read Fuel the Fire now, so I'll probably talk more about that in that other review, but like, the two of them together, it's like my favorite thing ever. So the last thing I want to talk about is sex, slut-shaming, and addiction, because I feel like these are three really important things. So like I already said, I feel like they dealt with addiction very well. It was looked at in a healthy and realistic way. The books are fairly therapy positive. They show good therapy, bad therapy. They show recovery, they show relapse, they show the struggle, they show that just because you've been sober, that you can be sober for a year, that doesn't mean you're going to be sober for the rest of your life. And I think that's a really important thing to see. And then there's the whole sex slut shaming thing. And I read a decent amount of new adult, and in new adult and young adult, and this happens in like adult romance too to some extent, but especially in new adult, I feel like there is a ton of slut shaming, and I think it's done unintentionally, which is even worse. And basically what I mean by that is where you'll have like the main female protagonist, and she's like perfect, she's often like virginal, and there's like the guy, like the bad boy or whatever, and usually and you know, he sleeps around or whatever, and then all the other girls are sluts and whores, and this like virginal heroine comes along and saves the day, and she isn't a slut and a whore, and she gets the happily ever after. I find it very annoying that that's going on, and it's like we're perpetuating this idea, and I don't know, so I feel like this series kind of comes out against that. Obviously Lily's relationship with sex is not healthy, but the books deal with that, and so they deal with the unhealthy sides of sex, they deal with, but they're also, I feel like, sex positive, like, which feels like those two shouldn't go together, but I think that's what makes it healthier. And then as the series progresses, they also talk about slut shaming in more of like a societal way. So the idea of somebody like Lily being the way she is, not being accepted by like society in the world because she's a woman, and that means she can't be doing the things that she's doing. Like, if the situation was reversed and Lo was a sex addict and Lily was the alcoholic, things would not have happened the way they did. Like, the world would not have treated Lo the way they treated Lily. And I think that that's very telling, and I think that's a huge part of this story, is looking at the way we view people and what we interpret their lives to be. I really, really love this series. This review is probably ridiculously long. I'm really sorry. I think these books have a lot of, they have good characters, they have good story, and they have a good message. So let's finish this up by saying, would I recommend these books? And I'm going to say yes, I would. I think especially even if you liked the first one but you were kind of on the fence with it, I would continue. I think the series gets better. I think Ricochet is just an amazing novel, and so like check out Ricochet and then decide or something. And then in Ricochet and Addicted to You are both told in first person, just from Lily's POV, but the remainder of the books are told in both Lily and Lo's point of view. But I would recommend them. They definitely have, like, I feel like Addicted to You isn't as sexual as the rest of the series is, and I think I said this in my Addicted to You review. I think that's on purpose. I think they're not trying to glamorize the unhealthy aspects of her life, but they're going to be more, but as her relationship gets healthy with Lo, then they like embrace it. It also is super, not even just like sexy times, but just like the content is obviously a little more graphic. It does deal with like alcoholism and sex addiction and all of those things, but I think it's very good that they're doing those things. Like, Lily starts to have like open and honest conversations with her sisters, and that is a good thing. It is a little dramatic and angsty. I'm not gonna lie, like, they're kind of crazy town, but I love that about them. I think if you tend to read new adult, you would probably be okay with the way these stories are, because I think most new adult skews angsty and soap opera-y, so you'd be used to it, but just a warning. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Once Long Way Down comes out, which it still doesn't have a release date, it just says summer 2015, that will be the last Calloway Sisters book, so once that comes out and I read it, I will do a review. My plan is to review that series. So eventually that'll show up. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.